All right, so today, the third day in Hebrews chapter 6, and we finished yesterday at verse 12. Actually, let's start at 11. We desire that each one of you show the same diligence so as to realize the full assurance of hope until the end, that you not be sluggish or lazy, but imitators of those who through faith and patience inherit the promises. So one of the important words is hope. We talked about that before. When the Bible uses the word hope, it's not mudahan. Hasti, yeah? So it's a sure hope that we have. And then, so verse 13, where we start today, when God made the promise to Abraham, since he could swear by no one greater, he swore by himself, saying, I will surely bless you and I will surely multiply you. So that word surely, I will absolutely, pasti, yeah, 10:2, I will surely bless you and multiply you, because that was his first promise to Abram. Come follow me, and I'll make a great nation out of you. That was his first promise, to Abraham. And so this section starting with 9, the subtitle is Better Things for You. So this is, again, using the word better, and it's talking about these promises that God made for Abraham. They apply to us, but we also have better promises even than that. So verse 15, and so having patiently waited, he obtained the promise. So remember in last Sunday's Bible study, we said God came to Abram when he was 75. He said, follow me, and I'll make you a great nation. Well, that was a promise that he was going to have kids, and many, many kids. And then in chapter 15, that's where God took him outside and said, count the stars. If you can count the stars, that's how many your descendants are going to be. But he still hadn't had kids. And then chapter 16 was Hagar. So he had a son, but that wasn't the son that was really the promised son. And he was 86 then. And we haven't gotten to this point yet, but maybe this week we're going to get to, no, this week we do 17. I think it's after 17 that he actually has Isaac. But he waited 25 years. So he patiently waited for God. Him and Sarah both. They waited, and their hope was God's going to fulfill this promise because he said that to us. So patiently waited, he obtained the promise, Isaac. For men swear by one greater than themselves. So if we swear, to swear is to like say, I promise this. And we usually promise. So some people say, I promise on my mother. Or I promise on God. With God as my witness, this is what I say. So we promise by someone greater, but since God is God, he had to promise on his own name. Because there's no one greater than God. So normally we pray by someone, or we swear by someone greater when there's an oath given. And the confirmation, that's the end of any kind of argument about this when that comes through. In the same way, God, desiring even more to show the heirs, so this would be Abraham and his children, the promise, the heirs of the promise, the unchangeableness of his purpose. I need to use this in what I'm doing now on How Can a Good God? So the unchangeableness of his promise. What does that mean, unchangeable?
Unchangeable, like never change.
Very good. Very good. It will not. So when God makes a promise, His promises will never fail. Yeah, they'll never change and they'll never fail. Yeah. He's not gonna promise something and then change his mind. God's never gonna do that. Yeah. And it's not only the promise is unchangeable, God is unchangeable. When he promises something, it'll happen. So he promised to Abraham, you're going to have a son. That came true. So they patiently waited, and that came true. So to show to the heirs of promise the unchangeableness of his purpose, he gave that promise with an oath, so that by two unchangeable things, it's impossible for God to lie. We who have taken refuge would have strong encouragement to take hold of the hope set before us. I hadn't seen that. So, yeah. So this phrase, let me see if I have that. Nope. So Colossians 3:2, set your mind on the things above. But this is also Hebrews, let me do this, 12, 1 and 2. And so let's go to that. So, therefore, since we have so great a cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us also lay aside every encumbrance, every distraction, and the sin which so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of faith, who for the joy set before him. The joy set before him. And that joy was having I'd never thought of this. The joy that was set before Jesus was the joy that was set before Abram. Let's go back here. And here, take refuge with strong encouragement and take hold of the hope that is set before us. That's like the joy that was set before Jesus. The joy set before Jesus, was the joy of having all of us as his brothers and sisters in relationship with God. So he looked past the cross, and he saw what was going to happen because of the cross, that all of us would be brought into a relationship with God. That was the joy, and it's like the hope. So we need to take hold of this hope that is set before us, that God is never going to change in his promises to us. Through Jesus, we have a relationship with God, and that's the hope that is set before us. So this hope we have as an anchor for the soul, a hope that is sure and steadfast. If something is steadfast, it will not move. So if you've got, the giant cruise ships that on the ocean, the places that people in Indonesia, they go and work on these cruise ships, and the cruise ships go all over the ocean. Yeah, these cruise ships are giant boats, but they have anchors. And so when they go into a certain harbor, they drop the anchor down. The anchor gets into the rocks or the soil of the sand on the bottom, and it digs in and it holds that giant ship. The anchor. That's what the anchor does. It digs in and it holds firm, and it doesn't let the ship move away from that spot. Yeah. So this hope we have of a relationship with God, it's an anchor to our soul. And it's really important to recognize that this hope is based on who God is. He will not change. His promises will not change. So when he gives a promise, We have a hope that is secure and steadfast and an anchor for our soul. So true Christians, when they know that they've been saved, there's nothing that will ever shake them from believing, oh, I'm going to lose my salvation. Because they have a firm hope that's an anchor. If someone has this fear, oh, maybe I can lose my salvation, it's because they don't yet have salvation. Because what they're thinking about is, ooh, I could do something and I could lose what I think I have. If they believe that there's something they could do, that they could lose what they have, they don't really have it yet because it's dependent on them. Yeah? So people who are, in quotes, Christians, katepe Christians, they probably worry that they could lose their salvation. But people who are true Christians, they never worry because they know I had nothing to do with my salvation. My salvation is the work of God through Jesus and nothing else. So that hope of salvation, it's not, oh, muda mudahan.
But it's true.
Yeah, pasti. 10-2. Yeah. I know that I have that because it's not based on what I've done. It's based on what Jesus has done. So that's why it's an anchor. It's sure and it's steadfast. It will not move. My hope. Yeah. All right. This hope we have is an anchor for the soul, a hope that's both sure and steadfast, and one which enters within the veil. So that phrase, entering within the veil. We have this phrase, we have that word veil, and in English, we often use that word for a wedding.
Wedding?
Yeah, and in a wedding, I don't know why this habit started, but in the wedding, the bride, she has a veil that covers her face.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do they do that in Indonesia ever?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. And when they get married, when the pastor says, I now pronounce you man and wife, the husband lifts up the veil and he kisses the bride. Yeah. But there's a veil that kind of separates him from the wife before they're married. Yeah. That same idea existed in the Bible times in the Old Testament. So in the Old Testament, I think we've talked about this. There was a tabernacle that was a tent. And they moved this tent when they were going through the wilderness on the way to Israel. Yeah. And the tabernacle had a holy place, but it had a separate room that was like the Holy of Holies. And that's where the high priest made the sacrifice for the sins of Israel once a year.
Yeah.
And then when they made the temple, which was the building, that building had the same organization. It had the holy place that people gathered in, and it had the Holy of Holy Places that only the high priest went into once a year. And there was a veil. There was a curtain. Yeah? It wasn't just like a see-through kind of thing. It was a curtain. And it separated the Holy of Holies from the regular place. So that no person would ever try and go in there, because if they went in there, they would die. Only the high priest was able to go in there. And even the high priest, when he went in, they would tie a rope around his leg so that if he had a heart attack or something like that, they could pull him out without going in there on their own. Because if they went in there, they would die. So they put a rope around his leg just in case he died. Yeah. But what this is saying, this promise that God gives us, this hope that we have of a relationship with God, that hope allows us to enter in the veil, because the reason that they had that curtain and the reason that no one else could go there was the Holy of Holies was the actual place where God's Spirit lived. And so regular people only could have access to that through the high priest. But now, because our relationship with God is better than the relationship in the Old Testament, we can enter the veil directly on our own. We can approach, so this comes later, we can approach the throne of God on our own. Part of the reason for that is Jesus is our high priest in heaven, but he opened the way for us to have direct access to God. Remember, Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. I'm the way. You can have access to the Father directly through me. You don't have to go through a high priest. Yeah? And you can come anytime you want. So Hebrews, at a later point, is going to say, therefore, we have courage to enter the throne of grace. Go directly to God. So that's what this is saying to us here. And again, this is how this new covenant, the new promise with God, with having access to Him through Jesus, it's so much better than the Old Testament promise where they only had access through the high priest and they only had sort of forgiveness for 1 year at a time. And every year he had to offer that sacrifice again. Yeah. When Jesus offered his sacrifice, he sat down.
Yeah.
And now when we believe the promise of God that we have a relationship with him through Jesus, we enter the rest of God. And we can sit down as well. We don't have to work. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Which enters within the veil, where Jesus has entered as a forerunner for us. A forerunner. So back in Hebrews 12, therefore let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus. And I've asked you this before. If we have a race, a course that we're running, where's Jesus in this course, in this race?
In the front of us?
He's in front of us, but how far in front of us? If we're running the race, he's at the end. He's at the finish line. Yeah? He's at the finish line because he ran before us. He was the forerunner to show us the way.
Yeah.
Yeah? So that's why it says Jesus entered as a forerunner for us, having become a great high priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. We talked about that too. Jesus was a priest like Melchizedek, not like Aaron, not like the Aaronic priesthood. Those priests died. Melchizedek didn't die, as far as we know. Yeah? And Jesus, he never dies. He's a high priest forever. But he ran before us and he opened up the way for us. That's why he said, I'm the way. And that way gives us direct access to God himself, to the Father. So we don't have to pray through a priest. We don't have to have a priest make sacrifices for us. We don't have to confess our sins to a priest. The Catholics do, because they don't understand this. There is no priest anymore. In fact, we are all priests. In Peter, it says we're a kingdom of priests, the regular people. God made us all priests to pray for one another. There's not a special person that we need to go to because Jesus was our high priest. Yeah. So the relationship with God is based on a promise of God, and that promise and God himself will never change. And we have the hope of that promise as a sure, positive, posti tentu thing that's going to happen. Because God doesn't change and his promises never change.
Yeah.
And we have direct access to him. There is no veil. And so when Jesus died on the cross, in the temple, in the building, that curtain,
it's open.
It tore in two and it opened the way for people to have access to the Holy of Holies, to God himself. That was a symbol that God had happen when Jesus died on the cross. And it wasn't a man that tore it. God himself toward it. We don't need this veil anymore. You have direct access to me through Jesus. So there we have chapter 6.
6.